Good evening. I'd like to call the City Council of the City of San Bruno to order for its regular meeting of July 14th. I'd like to begin by thanking the San Bruno Garden Club for the beautiful floral arrangement they presented this evening. And if we could have roll call, please.
Councilmember O'Connell. Here. Vice Mayor Wayne.
Here.
Mayor Franzella.
Here. Councilmember
Medina.
Here.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Here.
And if I could ask Chief Neil Telford to lead us in the pledge, please.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple of announcements this evening. The San Bruno Redevelopment Agency will meet following this evening's meeting. Second, the regularly scheduled City Council meeting for August 11th has been canceled, and the Beautification Task Force invites residents to nominate properties for the annual 2009 Beautification Awards. Nomination forms are available at the City Clerk's office or on the city's website. And Irene, as chair of the committee, did you wish to say something?
No, I just think it's exciting that we're having this yet again, and I hope people look around for their neighbors or their businesses and nominate who you think deserves recognition for what they've done to their homes or their business. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no presentations this evening, and on review of agenda, I have no items to be moved. Hearing none from council, we'll go on to approval of minutes of the special meeting minutes of June 23rd, 2009, and the regular City Council meeting of June 23rd, 2009. The minutes will stand approved as submitted unless there's any changes or correction. Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved. Consent calendar, all items are considered routine or implement an earlier council action may be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion unless requested by council member, citizen, or staff. I would like to pull item G. Is there any other items to be pulled on action from council?
Move to approve. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item G, adopt resolution conforming salary and benefits for the elected city clerk and city treasurer positions. Just pulled this because the city council had said that we would review those positions and actually put out the salary and benefits that would be available as parties were elected. And that will, any parties interested in running for those offices, those benefits and salaries will be available to them in the city clerk's office. Just wanted to point that out, that it had actually been done and will be part of any packet for any that are pulled. With that, I'd make a motion to approve, to adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 8, public hearings. Notices have been posted, published, and mailed. Hold public hearing, waive first reading, introduce an ordinance amending Chapter 4.40 of Title 4 of the San Bruno Municipal Code relating to massage regulations. City Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I had reported to the council previously, San Bruno does have a regulatory scheme for regulating the massage industry in San Bruno. And essentially that consists of requiring establishments to obtain licenses from the city and those wishing to perform massage services to obtain permits. The purpose of this is to protect the health and welfare of users within San Bruno of those services. Now, more recently, the state enacted a law which in part takes away some of the local control that cities have enjoyed to date in regulating the massage industry. And it has now become a mixture of is subject to both state and local control. And what the state did was, it's established through a new set of laws, a certification process that is voluntary. And when massage practitioners obtain certification from the state, then they are no longer required to come to the city and get a permit. In addition, those practitioners who are sole proprietors or who employ only state certified massage practitioners are also exempt from those requirements. As a result of this state law, it was necessary to amend our city's code to come into compliance with the state law. And there are really three approaches that a city could use to do that. One approach is to apply just a broad exemption and just exempt the practitioners who gain state certification. This is an approach used by a number of cities. A second approach is to require instead that all practitioners, whether normally subject to city regulation or who would have been subject to city regulation, to now join the state practitioners and obtain a state certification so that they all have to go through that process. The third way to approach this is to continue to regulate existing massage practitioners under the city's existing authority and existing regulations, and then also create a scheme of control to the extent allowed by state law to regulate state certified practitioners. And this is the approach that I am recommending, and I have made the amendments in conformance with that. So what it does is it creates sort of two classes of persons who have to be regulated differently. Those who do not get state certification and continue to be regulated under the city's existing laws, and those who do get state certification and who are to some degree exempt from city control, but who can be required to do certain things. So the way we have set that out in the ordinance, with the help of also the police chief and the community development director who assisted in this, is to require those who are exempt to come to the city and provide evidence of that. And those who do that will be given a certificate of exemption. So this way, it allows the licensing authority within the city to apply the correct set of regulations to these two different classes of massage practitioners. Although there were a myriad of changes in the code, I'm not going to go through those. Those are detailed in the staff report. I would just point out two important changes. One relates to the updated definition for what it constitutes a recognized school of education for massage therapy. And the second relates to the number of hours that are necessary in order to get a certification within the city. The main change that I'm recommending is that because state practitioners, if they go through that process, they're required to have either 250 hours if they're a practitioner or 500 hours to become a massage therapist. And it seemed to me there should be no reason that the other practitioners within the city who don't seek that state certification should be any less qualified than those going through the state process. So I've made the hours equivalent. So whether you're getting a state certification or you're coming to the city to get a permit or license, you have to have the same number of hours. Now, in recognition of the fact that it may take some time for existing massage practitioners who are not seeking state certification to come into compliance with those requirements, massage technicians would be given 2 years to come into compliance with the greater educational requirement, and trainees would be given 1 year, where under our existing code they were only required to get 35 and 70 hours instead of 250 and 500 hours of education like the state certified personnel. So with that, do any of you have questions for me?
Any questions of staff this time? Irene?
Just one, and I may have overlooked it when I read this. Are they required to display their certificate?
Our city would require that if they get a certificate of exemption, and we're allowed to require this by state law, they have to show certain things to our licensing authority, which is through the finance department. And then they would have to show that certificate of exemption, or if they're not state certified, they have to show the city permit or license.
To display it, so customers could come in
Correct.
And see it. Okay.
It has to be displayed.
Okay, thank you.
Through the chair.
Councilman Iber?
Pamela, in the background of it states some guidelines that our ordinance has, and then it goes into other things, but then the new regulations state that zoning restrictions are not allowed now because.
So for persons who are not state certified, our existing zoning regulations, which limits the location of massage establishments, that will continue to be in existence. However, for state certified practitioners who are sole practitioners or who employ, or a business that employs only state certified practitioners, the city can apply no greater or different zoning regulation to them than they do to other personal or professional services. medical offices, accountant services, etc. So this will allow them to be in places that they have not been before. So in conjunction with that, actually, there is if this is approved, or rather introduced this evening, there will also be an amendment that would need to go through the Planning Commission to establish those new zoning rules.
I'm aware of a reputable business that probably would not qualify on the 500-foot guideline to residential.
Now there will be, if they seek state certification, which is voluntary, they could qualify potentially for this exemption.
They're in existence now, so they must qualify in some other.
Well, I can't answer that
Okay.
because I'm not sure, but
Okay.
where they're located or what that business is, or whether they're someplace they're not supposed to be.
Oops.
Any further questions of staff? Okay, this is a public hearing. Any members of the public wishing to address the council? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Council discussion or action?
To the chair, motion to waive the first reading.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
The chair, I'd like to introduce the ordinance for adoption.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Ruane.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibera.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Franzella.
Aye. Item 9, public comment for items not on the agenda. It's the council's policy to refer matters raised in this forum to staff for investigation and/or action where appropriate. The Brown Act prohibits council from discussing or acting upon any matter not agendized pursuant to state laws. Is there anyone wishing to address the council? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 10, conduct of business. Item A, receive oral report on the 2009 fireworks season. Chief Shelford and Chief Tellis.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. Start off with, give you a report on our fireworks educational campaign this year, which consisted of the following. A community meeting held in May with the participating organizations that went well with all fireworks participants attending. The Prevention Bureau contacted all the schools providing information on Zero Tolerance campaign and made themselves available to give needed presentations. Public service announcements were provided by cable TV concerning fireworks safety, and to follow up, there'll be a wrap-up article on fireworks activity to be provided in the fall edition of the Focus newsletter. A summary of the fire department's activity. The fire department responded to a total of 47 calls for service during the time period of June 28th and July 4th. Department personnel did observe quite a lot of illegal fireworks activity similar to last year. Again, this year we were fortunate the weather cooperated by having a relative mild June with a high humidity and winds remaining fairly calm. The only significant event worth noting was a grass fire on Santa Lucia adjacent to the Cal Trans BART tracks. The fire was suspected of being caused by fireworks, although the investigation was unable to determine whether illegal fireworks caused it. During the week leading to 4th of July, there were several small fires that were classified as suspicious, but the causes were undetermined.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. As you directed back in April of this year, the police department again conducted an enforcement campaign as part of the 2009 fireworks season. We worked closely with the fire department to assist in the education component. This year we made a significant effort to advise the public of the increased fine associated with dangerous firework use. And this was the result of the action you took back in May that revised the city ordinance and allowed us to issue an administrative fine for the use of dangerous fireworks. Our education campaign included public service announcements and informational flyers that were handed out to all patrons of the fireworks booth. Also, we inserted notices in the utility billing that went out in June. We also worked with the fire department to staff an informational booth at the June 28th Farmers Market, and this allowed us to again get the word out of the increased fines and our strict enforcement policy. Over the 8-day reporting period from June 28th to July 5th, we had 147 reports of firework violations. and this is about a 36% decrease from the previous year. On the 4th of July, the department handled 208 calls for service, and to give you some perspective on this, typically we handle about 80 to 100 calls a day. We had 106 firework-related calls on July 4th, and from 8 o'clock to midnight, we received 118 calls for service. To handle this call volume, all police personnel were brought into work with the exception of those already on a 40-hour block of vacation. We had 69 personnel working that day, including 13 officers from allied agencies to assist us. The city is split up into 3 patrol areas, so we had a regular complement of patrol staff to handle routine calls for service, and we had an equal number of officers deployed for firework enforcement. As I mentioned, and I could notice, there was a noticeable decrease in the level of activity. There weren't as many as people out in the street, and we had about a 41% decrease in calls for service on July 4th. Despite the noticeable decrease in activity, there was an increase in the number of offenders officers encountered using dangerous fireworks this year. A total of 36 administrative citations were issued from the evening of July 3rd to the early morning hours of July 5th. 35 of those citations were for dangerous fireworks. 1 citation was misuse of safe and sane fireworks. In addition to that 36 administrative citation number, there were 3 juveniles arrested for possession of dangerous fireworks. In years past, individuals caught using illegal fireworks were transported to our police station, processed, and released on a citation. With this year issuing the administrative citation, individuals were released on the scene. This allowed our officers more time to actively patrol the streets for illegal firework use, and this may account for the increased number despite the decrease in activity. Violations were observed throughout the city. There was no geographic area that was more prevalent than another. However, we did receive a call from a resident who noticed a considerable decrease in activity, and that resident attributed to our pre-enforcement education campaign, where we went door to door prior to the July 4th and handed out informational flyers advising of our increased fines and our increased enforcement efforts. Those individuals who were issued administrative citation for firework violations have 15 days from the date of the violation to remit the fine or request an appeal. To date, 1 individual has paid the fine and 2 individuals have requested an appeal. We are in the process of following up with those individuals, reminding them that if they have not yet replied, there is a penalty assessment if they don't provide the fine on time. The total cost for the 2009 education and enforcement campaign is $54,900. This amount includes the costs associated with fire, police, and public works cleanup, who collected approximately 3 cubic yards of firework debris this year. In April of this year, we estimated the cost to be about $60,800, and last year's cost totaled $58,600. We attribute the decrease this year. We didn't have as many additional personnel from Public Works and Park and Rec because the weather conditions were better. This year's amount will be assessed to the fireworks booths, and we'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions of Chiefs?
To the chair.
Councilman Rivera?
So Chief, when an individual was issued the administrative citation, that's a $1,000 fine. Are they aware of what that fine is when they walk away from you?
Correct.
Okay. So that's probably a better deterrent to go amongst their neighbors and say, $1,000 ticket right here.
Yes, and we'll have to see next year if the number of violations decrease.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Councilman Medina?
As in years past, and I'm going to continue to thank and commend the fire and police for their work and their service that they did during the weekend of, and of course the 4th of July. I was able on the 4th to go down to the fire station for an hour or so, speak to the firefighters at Station 51, went to the 4 o'clock briefing, and did a ride along that evening for about 2+ hours. I think the education, from what I heard from the officers in the briefing, that they felt that those folks that they had contacted and went to already had at least half or more had known of the increased fine.
So that may have had some deterrent. I also think the citation where they remained out on the street and on the road enabled officers to be available to assist the community, assist the calls, and try to make the difference that apparently they did with the additional citations. But of course, this comes with them sacrificing from their time with their families and at their communities, enjoying the festivities. So I'm watching them work again this year. I want to thank all of them, from the police and the fire, for their service and their duty to the community, and the efforts obviously were successful as far as the outcome that we've just heard of. Thank you.
And I'd just echo the same. I'd like to, the activity was noticeably down, and I think that's because of all of our efforts throughout the year. Much appreciated. I think the community appreciates it as well. Thank you. Item B, receive quarterly investment report from City Treasurer John Marty.
Mayor Franzella and members of the City Council. During the second quarter of 2009, the city continued to reposition assets into the three main investment categories. As of June 30th, the city held $13.8 million at the local agency investment fund administered by the state treasurer, $12.1 million held in the San Mateo County investment pool, and $11.1 million in direct obligations of the U.S. government, for a total balance of $37 million. By way of comparison, as of December 31st, 2008, our total balance was $33.3 million. A quick note with respect to the individual securities held. Beginning beginning third quarter 2009 through the fourth quarter of 2011, the 11 positions we held will mature at various points during that time frame. As such, the city is well positioned to take advantage of any increases of interest rates should they occur. Turning our attention to the Lehman Brothers litigation, the county suit is progressing. The case is well into the discovery phase. However, with such complex litigation, although we're well into the discovery phase, much is yet to be done, and it's much too early to predict any sort of outcome at this stage. I will obviously update you as events warrant. On the legislative front, Congresswoman Spears' bill, known as H.R. 467, is still in committee. The bill's intent is to use TARP funds to reimburse public entities who suffered losses. The difficulty, according to her office, with the proposal is that TARP was originally intended as a loan program, which many legislators believe is not in the best interest of these affected public entities, nor the intent of the original legislation. So now the focus is shifting to creating a grant program as a vehicle to reimburse these public entities. To provide some perspective on this, San Bruno and the County of San Mateo are two of literally hundreds of affected public entities. In discussing this issue with Congresswoman Spears' office, there is strong support for this approach, this grant approach. But the details are a work in progress. Nothing is really expected until after summer. Tomorrow I will be participating in a meeting on this topic, after which I will report the results. Thank you.
Any questions of the treasurer this time? John, thank you for the update. Item C, receive report regarding traffic calming improvements at DeSoto Way and Santa Lucia Avenue intersection.
Got your intersection. No paint.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So I'm here before you to describe the status of the traffic calming improvements at the intersection of DeSoto and Santa Lucia. In the past, the Council has considered a number of traffic calming initiatives, particularly in the DeSoto neighborhood. At that time, there were improvements approved, but the request was made for us to continue to look at the intersection of DeSoto and Santa Lucia.
I thought it was my eyes.
Technical help.
All right. All right. And then back in May of 2008, the council approved a scheme to install 2 new stop signs. But at the time, we had a preliminary plan for the intersection improvements. The request was for us to go back and do some additional work to refine and really to come up with something that was more similar to the intersections in the rest of the neighborhood. What's up on the screen now is an aerial photo showing the existing conditions. So the intersection is actually pretty large. It's currently controlled only with the yield on the Santa Lucia leg. So based on council's feedback, we went back, did some additional survey work, and came up with a new design that significantly reduces the size of the intersection, installs new accessible curb ramps at all of the crosswalk locations, and new paving and sidewalk improvements to address the drainage and to try and achieve that desired result. So up on the screen is a plan that shows the final proposed improvements. So the intersection is closer to a 90-degree intersection. New stop sign is installed on Santa Lucia as on northbound DeSoto. And so in addition, I want to recap on what we've done with the community. So at the beginning of the traffic calming initiative, there was a significant TSPC review of the proposals, and at that time we involved the neighborhood. Most recently, when we came up with this revised design, we've provided notice to the neighborhood that the council would be considering this possible change to the design tonight. And in addition, there's 4 specific properties that are adjacent to the improvements that are going to have some impact in the front of their property. So on the screen is, actually, let me get to, oh. So anyway, on the screen is, I guess the new one didn't come. Yes, I revised the plan, but I didn't get the revised plan here to show some more detail about what improvements are going to be going on here, but I can still continue. So the 4 properties that have impact is 1460 Santa Lucia. That property is most impacted because, there's the mouse, this property right here. So currently the sidewalk is back at this location, and the proposal is to move the sidewalk out to this location. So this area right here will become additional landscaped space at the front of this property. This particular property owner really has maintained their property. It's nicely landscaped. We've been in discussions with the owner. The owner is interested for us to continue the existing landscaping, add some new turf and some shrubbery, and is interested to continue to maintain the property once the improvements are in place. The way we would accomplish that is we would build the proposal is to build the improvements as part of the project, and then to issue an encroachment permit to this property owner to be occupying the city right-of-way space, and then also to record a copy of that encroachment permit with the county so future purchasers are aware that this is in fact city right-of-way, but there is an obligation then to maintain that property. The next most impacted property is 136 DeSoto. So they have a small portion of their front yard that will have some additional landscaping. Their driveway is going to be relocated. At 1461 Santa Lucia, really the back of the sidewalk is going to remain in its existing location. There really will be very minimal impact there other than construction. And then across the street at 121 DeSoto, the proposal, in order to accommodate the accessible curb ramp, the sidewalk will be pushed back into the front yard a small space. Currently, it's just lawn, and we can easily restore the improvements and accommodate that property owner. We've talked to all of these property owners. They're aware of the proposal and are supportive of the improvements that would move forward here. Regarding the budget, so this is a much more ambitious project with a cost estimate of about $143,000. The main components of that are the concrete curb ramps. Those are actually a more expensive construction. We are doing a fair amount of concrete sidewalk, curb and gutter work, and a new valley gutter and paving to address the drainage. Because of the adjustment of the orientation of the improvements, there are drainage that had to be addressed with that. As far as the source of funding, the current or the recently adopted 910 capital improvement budget included sufficient funds for this project as part of the neighborhood traffic calming project, and the source of funding is gas tax and Measure A, which are transportation restricted funds. There are no general funds proposed for this project, but transportation specific funding. And that concludes my presentation, but I'm open for any questions or comments from the council.
Questions from council?
Yes.
Councilman Ibarra?
Steve, you say that we have adequate funding budgeted for this specific project.
Yes.
The project that was proposed to us back in May was a configuration of, I believe, street markings, and was
correct. It was there was some
it was very minimal work.
Minimal construction, mostly markings and new signs.
So what I'm trying to get at is, how did we get to something of that nature to a $140,000 project? I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not criticizing the solution, but I'm just saying, as far as the funding, are we taking away from another traffic calming project, or is it definitely we did foresee an increase in the cost of this project?
So we actually we knew what the proposed financial need was for this project when we put that budget together, and in the traffic calming CIP, we've addressed those known issues. Council we have Fleetwood traffic calming. We have about 4 initiatives that are moving forward. We funded all of those in the current CIP. So everything that we know, and there's a small amount available for something new that may come up. So what we've done is we've funded the known universe out there in the traffic calming world.
I would add also that in order for us to do that was further drawdown of the available fund balance for transportation purposes. Wasn't any fund taken away from already assigned projects, but certainly increasing the cost for those projects that had a impact on the available fund balance for the city.
Through the chair.
Councilman O'Connell?
Thank you. With the drainage, that's a sloped area, I believe. Is there any possibility or any reason to do something similar to what was done down in the Bel Air area? Or you're smiling like you knew I was going to ask that question. Is that something feasible, something good to do?
Certainly it's feasible because we have surface drainage. We haven't incorporated that into the design. That's certainly a possible alternative. I'm not exactly sure how it would be. I mean, we haven't done the planning for that.
Would that delay, if we did look into that, would that delay it like a year again, or should we just?
I really think if we took a step back to do that design work, we wouldn't make this construction season.
Okay.
Water coming down. Water's coming down.
Also, I would like to add that removing a very important portion of the payment at this intersection, in essence, you are achieving the same kind of goal with this project. increasing
that's true.
in very high degree the pervious surface at that intersection actually is a major positive impact for natural drainage.
Good point.
For
Okay,
that
thank you.
area.
Through the chair.
Councilmember Medina?
And the additional cost also, as you stated, is to cut the curbs so that it is more accessible. That was
Correct.
not planned in the original. And after being at the farmer's market and speaking to a few folks who are now utilizing those type of wheelchair or something else that have spoken to me and find it very challenging in certain areas because obviously not everything has been built since ADA has been passed. That's probably something that is needed and overdue there, and I know that increased the cost to the price tag because certainly that shocked myself as well. But obviously, because of the work of that, a chunk of that is attributed to that, which also will help anybody in the community. Okay.
One last question.
Sure.
Will there be, we'll be taking care of the funding for the landscaping, the additional landscaping in that area?
So yes, there's a small allowance that is included in the estimate to cover that cost.
I would just like to comment. I mean, you know, we're adding the handicap ramps or the accessible ramps, and that's something the city certainly has to do. We wouldn't replace sidewalk and not improve them as we'd require any owner to do if they were doing it. But what we have before us tonight is a permanent fix and a resolution to the problem. It's a lot more money than painting, but the problem's fixed, and it's going to aesthetically look good, and it's going to work, and I thank staff for doing it. The one thing I would ask staff to do, just for those people listening, because I've received calls on other traffic calming problems wondering what's happening. I heard you tell them to get that done in December, and it's not done. I said, well, they probably didn't hear me. But honestly, if you could just kind of give an update of what's happening and how we've brought in past a consulting contract and just maybe identify those projects that are coming forward, I'd appreciate it.
Now the consultant is on board, and our next project, which will be basically presented for your consideration, is on Donner and Crystal Spring, and is our assumption at this time that in the second part of next month will be a scheduled subcommittee meeting, and will be presented to the subcommittee the design for that intersection. And also the residents will be invited and engaged in the process.
Through the chair, just
Councilmember Medina?
to touch on that, I at the last meeting, also, I don't speak as loud as the mayor, but sometimes I'm heard, is that we were going to go out and update the residents of where the project stood so that they understood. Has that been done? Have they been alerted to where we're at in all of this, those projects that are pending?
No, I don't think so. It will be done in the next few days.
I'll learn to speak louder. And then what is the timeline that we would, if it's passed tonight for the DeSoto project, what is the timeline that we see it completed?
It is, if now we'll go out for bid, it's our intent to finish the project no later than December of this year.
I appreciate you emphasizing that. Now you're going to be held to it, of course.
Okay, is any other discussion, or is there a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. In discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item D, approve expenditures of up to $6,000 from the Art Fund for equipment and marketing materials for movies in the park. And our Director of Parks and Recreation will talk about this. Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Last year, the city of San Bruno held its first series of movies in the park, and they were very successful with attendance of 250 to 300 per show. They were held right here with a portable screen being brought in and sound equipment brought in by a vendor. It was held just between the Rotary Pavilion and the swimming pool area, and the crowd was sitting out in this area. They went very well. It was assisted with the with Community Services staff and the Culture and Arts Commission. There was a budget of $14,000 from the Public Art Fund that was put in to conduct the 4 movies this year. In looking at different approaches, we found a vendor who would come in and do the work, provide the inflatable screen, the sound equipment, etc., for a cost of only $4,000. The other option that the staff looked at was purchasing the equipment directly, and that same equipment would cost $4,700 for the sound system, the projector, etc., and then that equipment can be used by the city for other events as we go throughout the year. The area that was selected was to show the movies. The idea was to switch the venue slightly. Instead of going here to Rotary Pavilion, coming here in front of the tennis courts and using the backboard of the tennis courts. And this is an aerial shot from Google Earth of Diamond 2 and the tennis courts. And then coming down here, there is electrical at the end of the fence that was installed here for the baseball pitching machines already. And staff has gone out with the Culture and Arts Commission and tested it on a couple of occasions to make sure that everything functions out there. This is the view that the public would be seeing as they're looking at the screen, the tennis backboard. Part of the proposal is to cover this with white material, with a white vinyl, like a banner type material. And as people are preparing for the movie, people will be picnicking out in the park. The playground is right there next to the tennis courts for the kids to enjoy, and then back to the show. What we did bring also is a quick video, 22 seconds of the video to show, and we do not have this. This was done with a digital camera. As you can see, with the quality of the camera was not very good. Even the sky is blurry in this video. But it's just to give an idea that here is the grass area, the lawn area, as you're looking up at the screen. This was also done a little bit earlier in the evening, and the lights were on the ball field, so that the quality is not as good. And again, it would be covered with a white screen instead. This is our teaser for the movies, and there we go. So this is the first film, Indiana Jones, is being presented to the first, and these are the Fridays in September. And so the quality of this is more of the problem with the camera than it is of the screen, but it just gives the idea of looking up at the tennis backboard. So again, the proposal is to spend $4,700 from the Public Arts Fund for audio-visual equipment, and then $1,300 for marketing materials, a banner to advertise, a popcorn machine, some other small items to make it a real festive night and invite the public to come to and have a great series of movies in the park.
Okay. Just to clarify for council, council's already approved $14,000. Right. That motion will be canceled. This motion is replacing that. So in essence, instead of spending $14,000 for movies in the park, we will be spending $6,000 for movies in the park. But we're also authorizing city staff to, with some of that art fund money, to purchase equipment to be used for that. So actually what we're looking at is an $8,000 savings, and we're authorizing the city staff to make the purchase. So I think it's great. Thanks for your work in testing it out. I mean, it's pretty hard to say no to an $8,000 savings, especially in these times, and where you're going to have additional savings in the ensuing years. But I'll open it up to any questions from council. Okay, if not, action from council.
Gary, are you prepared to say comment on some of the sponsorships that have been collected to offset even more? That's what I mean. There are some community sponsorships that have been collected, and that will go towards this balance also.
Yes, staff will be working with the Culture and Arts Commission to secure some of the sponsorships.
Okay. Through the chair.
Director
Schwartz. I can appreciate having the picnic sites and the barbecue, and I can appreciate having the toddler equipment available in case maybe the movie goes too long and they need a little extra activity. But has there been a concern as far as now the restrooms are across the street of traffic at night in lieu of it being at the rec center, the swim pool? And of course the slope that we have going up to Diamond 3 enables kind of some tiering where now it's all flat. So that was, I mean, I know folks were out there testing it, so they were there firsthand. I wasn't, but I was just wondering about that one.
That was one of the concerns of the Culture and Arts Commission as they went out to the site. And part of the idea is that we can try it, make sure it works after 2 times. If not, it would be $1,000 to then have the rental equipment come in and have them finish up the series. We will have a couple of part-time staff that are included in this $6,000 cost that will be helping out with the evening, so they can help direct people the first couple of times if need be. We can have the lights from the ball field. We will turn them on at the end of the movie so that people can make sure they have all of their belongings and safely get back to their cars to help with the lighting in that area.
Okay, thank you.
Motion from council?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item E, adopt resolution approving side letter agreements between the City of San Bruno and the San Bruno Management Employees Association, the Mid-Management Bargaining Unit, Miscellaneous Bargaining Unit, and the San Bruno Professional Firefighters Association, extending their existing memorandum of understandings and authorizing their execution by the city manager. Tammy?
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council. The memorandums of understandings between the City of San Bruno, the San Bruno Management Employees Association, the Mid-Management Bargaining Unit, the Miscellaneous Bargaining Unit, and the San Bruno Professional Firefighters Association have all expired. Representatives from the City of San Bruno and from representatives from each of the bargaining units have met and conferred and reached agreement for side letters extending their memorandums of understandings. Negotiations focused on the need to address a serious revenue decline as a result of the current and continuous global recession. The City Council's direction was that there be no improvements to employee salaries and benefits, that the implementation of an employee furlough or other employee concessions would be needed to balance the budget. Each of the 4 bargaining units agreements include no increases to employee salaries, a slight increase to the employee medical premium effective October 1st, and a 2.3% salary reduction equal to a 6-day employee furlough. Offices will be closed due to employee furloughs on the second Friday every other month, beginning in August through June of 2010. Signs with the 6 scheduled employee furlough dates will be posted on the doors of city offices at City Hall, the library, the senior center, and the recreation center. Police and fire services will not be affected during the employee furloughs, and summer recreation and aquatics programs will continue for those who have already registered. And I believe the city manager would like to make a few comments.
I would just like to add that as the City Council is now well aware, we worked over many months to not only to complete the development of the budget and to present to you and for which you have now approved, a balanced budget, but we actively engaged employees from across the organization in that process, partly to assist in the development of the balanced budget strategies, and partly to maintain an informed workforce about the various serious issues that the city is challenged with addressing on a continuing basis. As the Human Resources Director has indicated, we have reached agreement with 4 of our 6 bargaining units for a side letter agreement that includes a concession from each individual employee in this organization belonging to each of those bargaining units that I believe recognizes both the commitment as well as the understanding that each and every of our employees has regarding the need for the city to address what is a very significant challenge. Our employees have consistently worked cooperatively over this long period of time, and I'm pleased and proud that these bargaining unit agreements, although presented to you in difficult circumstances and certainly not the more positive picture that we would typically like to be able to discuss and discuss with our bargaining units and present to you. I believe that this is a very positive story, again, of the commitment, the dedication, and the understanding that our employees have brought to the table in reaching these agreements and continuing to perform fine city services to our community in these challenging circumstances.
Thank you. I also would like to echo thanks to the hard work of staff and to that of the employees for recognizing the need and coming to an agreement and bringing these forward to help balance the budget. It's much appreciated. Is there adoption of the resolution?
The Chair, I'd like to introduce a resolution for adoption.
Roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Ruane.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Mayor Franzella.
Aye. Thank you. Item F, adopt resolution authorizing city manager to execute contract with Design, Community, and Environment in an amount not to exceed $147,739 for the preparation of zoning code and subdivision map ordinance update. And Mr. Ackman?
Thank you, and good evening, City Council. As the City Council knows, we recently adopted a general plan in March of this year. It was our first comprehensive general plan update in over 2 decades. And the second step to this comprehensive update is the update of our zoning code. And what the zoning code is the regulations within the municipal code that regulate land use as well as development within San Bruno. And this also includes, the update also includes an update to our subdivision ordinance. Example of what we'll be updating, the old general plan did not include a transit corridor area. So our current zoning code does not include a transit corridor area. It just has normal commercial zoning. So that will be one example of what we update our zoning code map as well as the regulations that go with the transit corridor area. Simpler one, daycares currently are only allowed within residential zones within San Bruno. Our new general plan wants to encourage daycares not only in residential neighborhoods where people live, but also in commercial areas where people work so they could be close. So we'll be updating our zoning code to reflect that general plan policy. Minor zoning code updates have been done over the years, probably 1 or 2 a year over the past 20 years. But the last comprehensive update was done in 1982, so no amount of time has passed. The primary goals that we'll be going over with the zoning code update is first, obviously, updated to be consistent with the general plan and state law, but also updated to be consistent with the ongoing planning efforts that we have now. As you know, we're also doing a housing element, residential design guidelines, the transit corridor plan. So since those are running on parallel tracks, it'll take a lot of coordination with staff to make sure that all those updates are also included in the zoning code update. The second goal is to make the zoning code easier to use, to make it easier for a resident or a business owner or someone looking to do business within San Bruno to understand what they could do with their property. This includes the use of graphics and also realizing that a majority of people, if not all people now, access the zoning code first through our website versus going and asking for a copy of the written zoning code. Regarding the selection process, we sent out 22 requests for proposals to various planning firms within the state of California. We received 6 proposals, all from qualified firms, and they all proposed similar budgets that range from $141,000 to $175,000. We had an interview panel, and we interviewed all 6 firms that turned in proposals, and the Design, Community, Environment was the top selection of the interview panel. And the main reason was their approach to sustainability. They had a really good approach to sustainability, including turning in a sustainability audit that showed how we were with our landscaping code and how we could improve. They also showed a great use of graphics. I passed out just a sample code that Design, Community, Environment did for the city of Chino. Right now we have 1 or 2 examples in our own code, so I want to have a lot more samples of graphics to make the zoning code easier to use. They also showed a great use of technology, as well as their plan for interaction with staff over the zoning code update process. Quick background on design community environment. They're a Bay Area firm. They've worked in over 75 California cities, including doing zoning code updates in nearby Bay Area cities. And once again, I passed on an example of their zoning code. There's also other examples available on the web. Regarding the process itself, I won't go into the individual details. Those are all within your written report in terms of the tasks. But they are proposing this will take about 10 months to go over this. And although the timeline might change based on the other planning processes to make sure that they line up and everything's consistent between the transit corridor plan as well as in the zoning code. And the next time that the City Council will see the zoning code update will be in a joint study session, a kickoff meeting to go over with design community environment, to go over what the objectives are for the zoning code update. So with that, I recommend approval, and I can take any questions.
Questions from council? Councilman Ibarra?
Aaron, how will the soon-to-be adopted residential design guidelines be incorporated in this? I mean, it's my understanding it's a separate document, but will there be overlap and repeat information?
Yeah, I think they'll be incorporated by reference. So there'll be mandatory findings for approval that you'll have to make for a residential addition, let's say. And one of those mandatory findings for approval are the addition has to be consistent with the residential design guidelines as adopted by a resolution by the City Council. But there are other areas in terms of design where we may incorporate some of the graphics from those residential design guidelines into the zoning code just to make it easier for the user.
Thank you.
Other questions? Action from council?
Through the chair, I'll introduce the resolution for adoption.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Ibarra.
Aye.
Councilmember O'Connell.
Aye.
Councilmember Medina.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Ruane.
Aye.
Mayor Franzella.
Aye. Item 11, reports of commission, boards, and committees. We have them this evening. At this point, I'd like to recess the San Bruno City Council and call the San Bruno Redevelopment Agency to order. If we could have roll call, please.
Agency Member O'Connell.
Here.
Vice Chair Ruane.
Here.
Chair Franzella.
Here.
Agency Member Medina.
Here.
Agency Member Ibarra.
Here.
Approval of minutes of the regular meeting of June 23rd, 2009. The minutes will stand approved as submitted unless there's any changes or corrections. Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved. Consent calendar, there are no items on the consent calendar or public hearing this evening. Item 5, public comment. Any members wishing to address the agency? Hearing none, we'll move on to item 6, conduct of business. Adopt resolution authorizing executive director to execute owner participation agreement with Stegner San Bruno LLC related to development of the El Camino Real commercial project. And Mr. O'Leary?
Mr. Mayor, Agency Chair and members of the agency board. Administrative Services Director O'Leary will provide the majority of the report this evening. I just wanted to provide a general overview of this project and the purpose of the owner participation agreement, which has been the subject of at least 3 other agency board meeting reports as we have worked over the last many months to bring forward this agreement. In very brief summary terms, the purpose of the agreement is to provide a vehicle by which the agency can provide financial assistance to an important component of the final build out and development of the Crossing San Bruno site. And that is the commercial project which will be developed at the front of the crossing, the overall crossing site along the El Camino Real frontage. And more particularly, that commercial project will include a casual fine dining, high quality restaurant that has been long anticipated as a key component not only of the crossing site, but as a new and needed amenity within the San Bruno community. We have worked very closely and diligently both with Chuck Stegner and his team, the owners of the commercial project site, and the developers of the building that will be situated there, and with John Marcovici and his brothers, who will be the restaurant tenant and owner-operator. All of them are in the audience tonight, and I believe that they will also have some comments to make. But again, I would just remind the agency board and members of the public that this is a key project that has, again, been long anticipated, was something that was originally expressed as a highly desired aspect of the crossing project back when it was initiated in the late 1990s, early 2000s. So this is almost, in many respects, a beginning of a dream come true for the San Bruno community. This is one of the fundamental purposes of redevelopment. Redevelopment exists and is funded via property tax increment for the purpose, for the specific purpose, among others, of providing a means to assist the development of redevelopment of properties that meet the state and the legal definition of blight, to transform their operation, their appearance, and their service to the community. And again, that's what we are looking forward to tonight with your consideration of this owner participation agreement.
Mr. Larry?
Agency chair and board members, not to repeat anything that was presented by the city manager, but again, just wanted to remind the agency that this is a follow-up agreement to the ECR agreement, the ECR commercial project agreement that was originally in place with the original developers of the crossing, and then became the responsibility of the new owners, Stegner Development, in early 2008. This is the for development of parcels 9 and 10 at the crossing, and this represents the 5th development component over at the crossing out of a total of 6, and hopefully will be a big step to completing the development vision over at the crossing. And again, the relationship between the El Camino commercial project and the OPA. The OPA provides for an expedited schedule of performance which will result in the opening of the high-quality casual fine dining restaurant that has been a key redevelopment element for this important corridor site on El Camino Real. Again, the El Camino project fronts on El Camino Real and will be a significant visual enhancement and functional enhancement to the crossing. The City Council heard in significant detail the plans in a study session for the development back on March 10th. There have been many hours of negotiation since that time. Some of the negotiations, including the council committee of Mayor Franzella and Vice Mayor Ruane, directly involved in a large portion of these many hours. But even since that time, the basic terms of the agreement that were contemplated back in March are unchanged and essentially form the backbone of the agreement at this point. I just wanted to mention a couple of the terms of the agreement. The first being development of a 12,250 square foot restaurant retail building, including at least 4,800 square feet for restaurant use. The initial tenant of this building will be the anchor restaurant space, will be the Marcovici Restaurant Group that currently is the owners of the highly successful Boulevard Cafe in Daly City. They are the projected owners and in fact are entering into a lease for this site for an initial term of not less than 10 years. An important component of the restaurant is the private dining area with a capacity of at least 60 patrons, and that is one of the terms of the agreement. As far as the schedule of performance is concerned, there is an outside date where the contract would terminate if all of the elements of the agreement were not met, and that's September 30th, 2011. So there's a little bit more than a 24-month period here, which is, again, the outside date for accomplishing. And I think the developer and the restaurant folks are here tonight, and they could give you any indication of more specifics that would bring this restaurant development to San Bruno. A major component of the OPA is the agency financial assistance. Again, that term was discussed months ago and is unchanged. It's essentially a $550,000 assistance from the agency to accomplish the casual fine dining environment that has been envisioned for so long. There's really two components of that assistance. One would be a waiver of an impact fee, development impact fee, that is required for this particular site, and then there would be an additional $450,000 contribution from agency funds to meet the total obligation of the agency in providing this assistance. There will be an escrow account established, and funds will be transferred into this escrow at the time of actual construction when the foundation is poured on this site. Those funds will remain in escrow until the project is complete and there's certification that the restaurant is within 14 days of opening. Then that money would be dispersed. So the city, through this escrow, will really be controlling, and until the obligations are met, there would be not the disbursement of those funds. Those are really the major terms that wanted to just remind the board. I'd be glad to answer any questions. Again, both the developer and the restaurant operator are here, and again, the committee was involved in hours of negotiation, and would be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions from staff this time? Developer and operator here, did you wish to just maybe give us and the public an update on how much sooner than September 30th, 2011 we'll be eating there? And I need to ask you to go to the microphone just because you're being taped. Thanks.
Thank you, agency chair and members. My name is Dominic Giacalone. I work with Stegner Development, Chuck Stegner and I, the developer of the project. And we, frankly, we look forward to getting this started. Finally, it's been a longer road than we had thought when we originally got the project approved spring last year. So things had changed a little bit, and now we're happy to be back on track. And excited to have the Marcovici Group as our anchor space tenant, what we always thought was going to be the hardest tenant to attract, and probably our last tenant we got in the front end, so we're excited about that and have a great operator. We think, as far as our timeline, we think the building can start a couple months after the last step of the OPA, which is finalizing their plans, the agency board approving the Marcovici plans. So we have a few administrative items left on our approvals, but nothing that would prevent us from starting once these guys are approved and ready to go.
Construction conceivably would start this year in fall?
That's our hope, yes.
Okay.
That's our hope, is to start this fall. So, and I think John wants to come up and he can give you a better overview of what they're going to do for you and what they're going to deliver as far as their casual fine dining restaurant.
Okay, John, you're on.
Agency Director, agency members, thank you very much. My name is Joe Marcavisi. I'm part of the Marcavisi Restaurant Group. And as far as the timeline's concerned, as soon as we get the shell over from Dominic and Chuck, we've got 6 months, according to our lease, to get that thing done. But we want to get it done in 4. So we're gonna have our plans, our permits, everything's gonna be ready to hit the ground running. So as soon as we get it from them, we should we're not gonna waste any time. We wanna open this place in San Bruno and do it really quick. I do want to say that I've had a chance to address this group before, and I do want to reiterate how excited we are about this opportunity. I'm excited because this is the first time my brothers and I are going to be partners in a restaurant together. We've worked in restaurants before together, starting at the age of about 9 or 10 years old when my mom forced us into her restaurant. It's an attempt to skirt the 1938 Fair Labor Standards Act. It's very effective. We didn't want to work in the restaurant business at that time, but since we had to, we paid attention. My mom taught my brother Dave how to cook great food. She tried to teach me, but after I almost burned the restaurant down, we knew that wasn't going to take, so she just showed me what great hospitality is all about. And we're excited about bringing that approach that my mom instilled in us to San Bruno, which is where my wife and I live. We've been here for 2 years. We love this city. I'm not just pandering. It's a great city. We live off Santa Lucia. It's a great neighborhood. You guys have great parks here. We feel very safe. And whoever's responsible for paving the tennis courts by my house has my lifelong vote. So we love it here, but the city's got a lot of bells and whistles, but we think what you need is a great restaurant. A great restaurant where you can get beer, wine, a great steak with a bottle of Camus, fantastic breakfast with sweetest pancakes and a Hendrix Fizz, and a place where you have a big banquet room where the residents of San Bruno can celebrate their most important and memorable occasions. We want to bring that to this city. And though this has been a long process, it's taken a long time, and it's not what we're good at. We're good at restaurants. I'm not good at talking with lawyers or listening to lawyers talk to each other because it can give you a headache, no offense. But I promise you, if you help us see this to fruition, I promise you that when a person asks, where can you go and get a great meal, not just in San Bruno, but on the peninsula, from here down to San Mateo, past San Mateo, I promise you that the Marcavisi's place is going to be one of the first restaurants that pops into people's heads. So if we can get this thing done, we can start eating soon. And I can answer any questions you might have about the restaurant.
Any questions from board members? Okay. Thank you, John.
Okay. Thank
Appreciate
you.
Through the chair. I just want to say briefly that I had the pleasure of being involved in all of these discussions over the last number of years, not just with Mr. Marcavisi, but other groups that, frankly, were kind of cookie cutter. And then we hit on, and they hit on us, this very compatible relationship. It took a lot of work, and like you say, Pamela, you're excused, but sometimes the attorney stuff gets to me too. But we did have the pleasure of working with John and his family and Mr. Stegner and his group, and I really, really look forward to cutting the ribbon on this.
Any other comments or action from the board?
Through the chair, just briefly, I mean, the city manager said it all. I mean, without the redevelopment, this would have just been a dream. And so for this site, the crossings, it's been 9 years. For many of us as longtime residents, it's been a longer wait. So it is a dream come true. We've had some nice restaurants in this town, but for a long time, I mean, we don't have one that we can really hang our hat on and brag about. So we know how you are. We've been to Boulevard in Daly City, and we really look forward to going to Boulevard in San Bruno at the crossing. So with that, I'd like to introduce the resolution.
Roll call, please.
Agency Member Ibera.
Aye.
Agency Member O'Connell.
Aye.
Agency Member Medina.
Aye.
Vice Chair Ruane.
Aye.
Mayor Franzella.
Here, aye.
Chair Franzella.
Excuse me. Congratulations, we look forward to your opening. Item 7, adjournment. The San Bruno Redevelopment Agency will adjourn to a next regularly announced meeting. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. At this time, I'd like to call the San Bruno City Council back to order. And we have comments from city council members. And I have a comment this.
It's okay.
It's different.
Thank you.
Not a
See you
problem.
soon.
Congratulations.
John.
I'm very excited. Thank you.
This evening, I'm announcing that after much thought and consideration, I will not be seeking another term as mayor of the city of San Bruno. Due to some organizational changes within my business, there's greater demands on my time and both presence needed at the office. My 3 business partners over the years have been very generous in allowing me the opportunity to spend considerable time and effort on city business and away from the office, for which I'll always be thankful. I'm not leaving San Bruno. I've lived here for 44 years. I've attended school here. I have a business here. This is my home, and I plan on remaining active in the community. But times are such that I do need to not seek re-election. Despite the fiscal difficulties that have faced San Bruno, along with other cities in the county and the state, I'm proud of the accomplishments that we've been able to make, and thank the dedicated staff and my colleagues on the council for their hard work to make San Bruno a better place to work and live. I wanted to make the announcement at the beginning of the filing period, which opened yesterday, at a public meeting to allow any interested parties maximum time to file. In November, I will have served the city as mayor for 10 years, re-elected 5 times by decisive margins, and for that, I thank the citizens of San Bruno and will be forever grateful for their support. Thank you very much. From here, the City Council will go into closed session. The City Manager and Human Resources Director request a closed session pursuant to California Government Code Section 4957.6 regarding direction for labor negotiations with the Public Safety Mid-Management Bargaining Unit and the San Bruno Police Unit. From there, there will be no reportable items. We'll adjourn to the next regular City Council meeting, which will be held on July 28th at 7:00 p.m. here at the San Bruno Senior Center, San Bruno. Thank you.